enough to be joined by Chairperson of Ragusa Minerals, Jerko Zuvela. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jerko. So today, Jerko is here to answer all our questions. So feel free to pop your questions into the chat anytime during this session. I will get us started. I'm going to start off with some questions on projects, and then we'll follow off with some financials. So to begin with, your projects are really widespread around the globe. You're not limited to only Western Australia and Northern Territory, but you also have projects in Zimbabwe and Alaska, I noticed. What is the thought process behind expanding internationally rather than just concentrating in Australia?
Yeah, thanks, Caitlin. I really appreciate your time to have us present today and go through this with your investors. Our project portfolio has built over the last couple of years since we've been listed. I guess it's always been an international focus, and we've sort of more recently, over the last 12 months, sort of brought it back to more of an Australian focus with the Burracoppin project in WA, and obviously more recently, the Northern Territory Lithium project, which has basically become our key project, our key focus, and where we think we will prioritise all our works over the coming years, hopefully, if everything goes well, whilst we develop that. And obviously we'll try to keep progressing on the Alaskan and WA project also. The Zimbabwe project probably goes a bit to the wayside, given that gold's probably not as interesting for the sector at the moment, or for the markets at the moment. So we'll sort of try to keep the focus on what's attracting interest in the market.
And diving into the projects, when are you looking to begin drilling for the Northern Territory Lithium project?
Yeah, in the coming weeks, we've actually got our geological team up on site this week, doing the track clearing and a bit of extra mapping, and all in preparation for drilling in a couple of weeks. We're just waiting on the drill rig to become available, which is effectively, or it is our vendor, May Drilling. So once he finishes the job that he's on now, he'll move to us. We're thinking probably in the next 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, he should be done. So towards the end of September, we hope to start drilling.
Okay. And a shareholder wants to know, once drilling does commence, how quickly following this are shareholders likely to receive updates on the drilling, and what are the timeframes?
Yeah, obviously, as soon as we start drilling, we'll be, as soon as we've sort of got some a satisfactory amount of results, I guess, from the drilling and the logging and so forth that you do on site, from the geological sort of point perspective, we'll try to do that. I think we've got some sort of good precedents there from some of our peers in the area, whether it's Core Lithium or Lithium Plus. They drilled a couple of holes in the last couple of months, and obviously put out some results as they were going through that drilling, not so much results, but observations and visuals. So we'll be looking to do that, and then obviously as we sort of put together our samples from the drilling and identify which areas we need to be assayed, obviously we'll put them into the laboratory.
Your sound has just gone out, I think.
Oh,
sorry, your sound is cut out.
Oh, can you hear me again?
Yeah, could you just repeat like the last minute?
Yep, okay, so yeah, we'll obviously be looking to conduct the drilling works, put out some ongoing announcements with regard to progress, but ultimately once the assays go in and we get the lab results back, obviously hopefully we'll have some, maybe before the end of the year or early next year, where we'll be able to provide the actual assay results to the drilling works that we've done, and start putting some numbers around the drilling works that we've been doing.
And the initial maiden drilling program for Burracoppin, which is in Perth, was completed back in May. Have we got any news on a potential direct shipping ore operation? Can you hear me? Oh, we can't. I can't. I'm not sure if it's me or if it's. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now. Sorry about that.
Sorry, I'll repeat the question. I was asking that the initial drilling program for Burracoppin, which is in Perth, was completed back in May. Have we got any further news on a potential direct shipping or operation?
Yeah, well, that's the, I guess, the plan, or was the plan. We've still got the samples in the lab, so we're waiting on them. We're probably expecting them over the next few months. So that does take a while due to delays and so forth. We had to sort of go and get the composite the samples and so forth. So it took us a little while to get the samples into the lab. They got to the lab, I don't know, the last probably month or two. I can't exactly remember, but recent times. And then obviously we're waiting on the lab doing halloysite and kaolin analysis works is not conventional sort of assaying like you do for gold or lithium or anything like that. It does take longer with the brightness, the colours and all that sort of work. So it does take a little bit longer. But once we get those results, hopefully before the end of the year, hopefully maybe a little bit earlier, we can then start looking at what those results mean, put a resource together, and then off the back of that resource, we can maybe look at some development options during the course of potentially next year. Albeit, I guess, as I said earlier, the Northern Territory Lithium Project will take focus and priority. So how quickly we want to move on the Burra-Copran project will really be determined by how successful we're progressing up at the lithium project in the NT.
So then in that case, do we have any news on how the exploration campaign in Monte Cristo is coming along?
Yeah, so we've tried to do a little bit of works there this summer, this northern summer. Again, it's very early stage works. We did a geophysical survey over the Old Man prospect area just to see if there was anything there that we could identify that sort of stood out from the geophysics. We're still going through that interpretation and analysis works of the geophysics and what we've been able to do also is do a little bit of groundworks. That sort of just happened over the last couple of weeks. And with the Alaskan sort of field season or summer season sort of quickly winding down, we'll see what...
You've cut out again.
area and also the area south of RPM where Nova Minerals have found a great discovery just a couple of kilometres to the north of our border with them. So we've also done some works down in that area and we sort of can see some surface expressions. So it will be interesting to see what can be sort of come from the samples that we've collected there as well.
And then similarly in February, I know that you guys put an announcement that a new zone of mineralization was identified from the diamond drilling program at Lonely Mine. What's next for that project?
Like I said, I think we're probably given that a decent shot and probably at the moment that will just sort of go into a little bit of just sort of standby mode and like I said, we'll just focus our current budget to the Northern Territory Lithium Project and a little bit to the other two projects. So that will probably just be a little bit of a standby mode for now and see how we go.
And we've had a lot of people just come in case you missed in the beginning. You're welcome to pop your questions into the chat if you have any for Jerko. But moving on, I'm really impressed by the hike in share price that you guys have had since early August, considering how poorly the market has been performing. So the share price has really been holding up. What do you attribute this hike to?
I think it's, you know, even though the markets in general have struggled a little bit due to all those macro factors, but I think what stands out is the lithium sector is going gangbusters. You know, there's no stopping that at the moment. The market's very excited by lithium in general. You know, lithium prices are staying very strong at record, you know, near or at record highs. So I think it's the fact that, you know, we're getting closer to starting works on the ground up at the Northern Territory Lithium Project. I think there's been some, you know, some good peer comparables with Lithium Plus and Core Lithium with what they've, or especially Core, what they've achieved over the last 4 or 5 years and getting into production. Lithium Plus is a new IPO that sort of listed a few months ago, and they're sort of at the same stage as us. They're probably a little bit more appreciation on their share price than we have, so maybe we're just playing a little bit of catch up. And then if you look at the WA lithium companies, some of them, again, at early stage, pre-drilling or at drilling stage, have got some very healthy market capitalizations, and I think it's just showing that, you know, hopefully we've got a pretty good project. We think it's going to be a very good project and comparable to you know, from the initial ground investigations we've done that we think we'll be able to find the similar. Well, we've got similar geology to what Core Lithium has, what Lithium Plus has got. So that's very exciting, and I think that's really the basis for this sort of little bit of a re-rate that we've had and the interest that we've had in terms of liquidity is all us moving forward in this lithium space. And I think what we're seeing with lithium prices and the fact that Core Lithium is one of the lowest cost capex operations to get into production here in Australia from a lithium perspective is very much a very big positive for us, because that's exactly the pathway we want to follow. Find the resources and then look at development options in the near term over the next sort of 3 or 4 years perhaps, or even hopefully quicker, given that there's a lot of interest from strategics to come in and support junior companies and help them with getting on that development pathway as quickly as possible.
And how much capital do you guys have at the moment?
So at the moment, as of the end of the last quarter, end of June, was about $2.5 million. And we've got some options that are expiring at the end of the year, which we probably have started receiving. So we think through those options and with what we've got at the moment, that will allow us to go very strong with the drilling program up in the Northern Territory for not only the rest of this year, but the majority and if not all of next year, plus to do the works at Barracoppin in terms of the assay analysis works and looking maybe at some sort of scoping studies there and conducting those initial stage sampling works up at the Monte Cristo project in Alaska. So effectively, we've got enough funds to sort of go and push reasonably hard at all of our projects, but very much give the Northern Territory Lithium Project everything we can to get that moving as quickly as possible.
And do you know what your current burn rate is?
Well, listen, it hasn't been much over the first 6 months of this year and prior to that, because there wasn't a great deal of work, but we've just sort of going through our budgeting now, and we're probably looking at putting a lot more dollars into the ground up at Northern Territory. So we're probably spending well over $500,000 a quarter on that drilling campaign. So probably even more, probably $1 million a quarter, over $1 million a quarter on that drilling campaign. So we'll have enough money till the end of the year to go hard, and then like I said, those options that are well in the money at the moment, if they come in, we've got more than enough to go hard for all of next year as well.
Yeah. And I noticed that you guys once paid a dividend out in 2014. How come you guys never did that again?
Well, you've gone very far back. That was not during my time, but this company was called a different company back in those days. We basically did a reverse takeover of the company and did effectively an IPO back in September 2020. So effectively, the company started again from September 2020. So those days of 2014 and around those times are probably something the company was doing differently. I think it was a financial services company back in those days, so that's why they may have nothing to do with us.
That's very interesting. I'm sure a lot of the investors on this call actually don't know that.
No, I didn't know that either, and yeah, it would have been nice to get a dividend, but listen, it's a good precedent for us, and hopefully over the next coming years, as if we can develop our projects, there might be dividends coming in the future as well. So that's maybe a good omen for all of our investors.
Will the company be releasing an updated investor presentation to try and get more investors over this lithium project and in turn more interest?
Yeah, listen, we're working on that at the moment. I'd like to get started on the drilling campaign and see if we can sort of include some of the information from that, just to give investors as much information as possible on what we're finding and what we're looking for. So hopefully over the next few weeks, we'll update and complete that and put that out into the ASX platform for all of our shareholders to see and show what we're doing.
And we'll definitely send you guys an email notification so you don't miss that for those that are interested. Someone wants to know what is the expected time frame from when the drill rig hits the ground and when visuals can be seen. I think this is related to the Northern Territory project.
Yeah, absolutely, and like I said, that's our key focus, and that's where the key interest is for what we're doing going forward, and all the recent appreciation that we've got in share price and liquidity is I think all focused on that. Listen, that's a great question. Listen, hopefully, if we can drill 100 to 200 meters a day. And again, our driller's got some good experience up in that part of the world. It's obviously his project. He has drilled it in the past. We're going to be targeting the areas that we feel we're most confident in. So hopefully, in the first week or so, we'll be able to provide some good visuals and some photos on what we're getting, and keep updating that as we keep drilling. There's no reason why, if things don't go well, we should be able to drill a decent amount. In the first month or two. Obviously, the wet season comes in probably in about mid-November. We will try to drill through the part of the wet season if possible. Our vendor and driller is keen to do that, so we're very hopeful that if that is possible and we're not sort of too rained out, that we'll be drilling all the way through to the end of the year. So there should be a lot of news flow to come.
And do you think, once you do stop drilling, whether that's in the end of the year or a bit earlier, will you recommence again in April, May?
Yeah, hopefully a little bit earlier. I think the wet season sort of hopefully should be passed by about the end of March, maybe into April. But yeah, that's sort of when we'd be looking to restart if we haven't been able to carry on or continue, even if it's sort of effectively part-time, given you probably won't get 100% productivity during the wet season. But we expect to get back drilling 100%, and even if we can get a second rig out there, depending on what we do till then. But yeah, really it is to try to get as much drilling going as quickly as we can. The aim is to try to prove up a resource at some point, hopefully next year, at least a preliminary resource that gives people a bit of an indication. Given our key neighbours, Core Lithium, have got a current resource of about 15 million tonnes. If we can get a sort of fraction of that, or a decent fraction of that, from our first sort of key round of drilling, which not only this year but also some of next year, then that then gives us the options to look at those development pathways. We've already we've got a very good relationship with the Northern Territory Mines Department. They came to site when we were last on site a couple of weeks ago. So they're aware of the project. They've already given us a bit of a pathway to follow for looking at those development approvals that are going to be required in the future, conducting the right environmental assessments and so forth. So we're starting to do some of those preliminary works now, albeit we can't probably go to the full effect because we haven't obviously got a resource yet, but we are looking to do whatever we can to sort of jump ahead of the curve and keep ahead of what's required to ensure that we can move as quickly as possible. As I said, I think the interest is in the lithium. Lithium prices are super high. We're seeing what Core's doing, what's happening in WA with Ragusa Minerals and a few others. I think getting into production as quickly as you can is the key to getting maximum value for your company and your project in the lithium sector while these prices are effectively super high. And from my understanding and experience, I think these prices do stay strong over the next few years, albeit they might not stay exactly where they are today. They might go up a bit, they might come off a bit, but these prices that we're seeing forecast for the next sort of 3 to 5 to 7 years, they stay pretty strong, and that's where you're going to get best value is reaping those sales prices with product sales.
And I know we were discussing the hike in the share price earlier. Do you think this traction will continue for at least a few more weeks, or are you expecting a plateau?
Listen, I'm not the one to give financial advice, but listen, I'd like to think, given our current market capitalisation, given some of our peers' market capitalisations where we're trying to get to, that if we have success with a drill rig and what comes out of the ground is what we expect or what we hope for, then the share price hopefully should continue to grow based on what others have achieved, based on the results that we're trying to achieve ourselves. So, I still think there's plenty of room to grow in the share price and the market capitalisation of the company. What are we now? $30 million market cap or something like that. That's if you can go and prove up a decent resource, you can sort of look to get into a development pathway. Surely that means you're going to be a lot more valuable as you progress that development pathway than we are today. So hopefully there's a lot more to come. That's exactly what we're trying to do.
Well, that's all the questions from me. Thank you to everyone that submitted. If you do have any questions, you're welcome to email me and I can pass them on to Jerko. But thank you so much for joining us today and participating in the interview with us. We're really excited for what's to come, and I'm very excited to hear what the Northern Territory results are like. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Caitlin. I would love to do a follow-up. Hopefully, once we do start seeing some results, we would love to give you and your clients and investors an update accordingly. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We will have another webinar soon then.
Cheers. Have a great day.
Bye.